pero sintiendo como si estuvieras hablando un idioma completamente diferente, uno que nadie más entiende. Imagine walking into a room, eager to connect, but feeling as if you're speaking an entirely different language, one that no one else even understands. This can be a daily reality faced by people with intellectual disabilities. The desire to engage is there, but often the social skills to do so are not. This is the greatest barrier to true social inclusion and integration. But what if I told you that we have the power to break this barrier down, to leave no person behind? We have the tools necessary to work towards more inclusive and integrated environments in all walks of life, ranging from sports to schools to workplaces to society as a whole. Hi everyone, my name is Emery, and today I want to challenge the way you think about social inclusion and integration, especially that of people with intellectual disabilities. Too often, we assume that just placing people in the same environment will lead to organic interactions, relationships, friendships, and more, but research and live experience has proven that this does not always happen. Because true social inclusion and integration require active participation and meaningful engagement, not just a physical presence. To work towards these outcomes, we must embrace research-backed approaches that foster genuine social inclusion and integration. To do this, I want to introduce you to two very powerful tools: video modeling and sports. We can use these to bridge the gap from social isolation to real-world dynamic situations. And, well, this isn't just a theory. It's based on real research and science, and more importantly, it's transformed lives. When I was 12 years old, I met a young man, let's call him V. He changed my life. We met when he was cheering on my baseball team. He was the first person I ever met who had an intellectual disability. I loved spending time with him. I was drawn to him not solely as a mentor, but rather as a friend. So I couldn't stop there. I started to volunteer at a local organization, but, well, at first I was stuck, going through the motions and not actually doing what I needed to, which was to allow people with intellectual disabilities to have the opportunity to have fun in a free and open environment that they wouldn't get without my help. And I couldn't stop there. I started to research through my high school the most effective strategies that can take us from social isolation to social inclusion and integration, and that is what I want to share with you today. At the cornerstone of human connection lies social ability, the skills necessary to navigate a conversation and to understand the unwritten societal rules that we have in place. Because for people with intellectual disabilities, learning these skills can present a clear challenge where, to most of us, they're picked up pretty much not as difficult. They're much easier to come by. A solution to this is video modeling. Video models are video demonstrations or representations of how to actually complete a skill, like how to introduce yourself, how to greet someone, things like that. And they work for many, many reasons, but mainly because they mimic how most of us learn. Consider a young child learning to communicate for the very first time. How do they do it? They observe the people around them communicating, and later on they can start to mimic this behavior and later on refine it. And, well, that will later on perfect the skill. Using video models allows us to observe over and over again, and in many studies that I've read, when the skills are trained, they're actually learned. So we have to start implementing these video models because, well, we can start to learn these skills, but, well, you can't just learn social skills in social isolation. That is where sports can play an unparalleled role. Sports not only provide a great environment to practice these social skills, we mimic and then, or we observe and then we mimic, but also it allows labels to fade away. In a team sport, it's not or perceived limitations, disability versus non-disability. Instead, it's our collective achievement. We support each other through losses and celebrate together in victories. It allows labels to fade away. We can unite under a shared identity. And that is so crucial in working towards true social inclusion and integration. But you can't do one without the other. The combination, in my opinion, is where the real magic happens. Because, you can't learn a skill and never apply it, and you can't expect to apply a skill that you've never learned. It's the same reason why sports teams practice before a game. There's no point in practicing if they're never going to have a game, but they're never going to win the game if they don't actually practice. The combination allows us to go from short-term improvement to long-term empowerment. Consider an athlete who's been watching video models on how to introduce themselves. Instead of going to practice anxious, they can go confident. And, this allows us to work towards improving social skills, which improve social integration. But what does that mean? In almost every study that I've read, the authors have detailed that social inclusion and integration have a correlation with improved well-being, an improved quality of life based on when we reach these social outcomes. But we actually have to start working towards them to reach them. And the benefits aren't just for people with intellectual disabilities, it's for those without as well. Our communities can benefit from increased diversity, and our workplaces can be improved. We can think differently, seeing things from a new light. Thinking of new ideas is innovation, and innovation pushes our society forwards. That's for a different talk. But we must remember, to actually reach these social outcomes, social inclusion and integration, we have to start working towards them. These require active intervention to reach this long-term empowerment, improved quality of life. Because, it's not an option. It's a moral responsibility to break this barrier, to leave no person behind. We must work towards true social inclusion and integration by, it's through the small actions. It's not all going to be one thing, it's the smaller things that lead to ripple effects, which is greater change. Because we must allow everyone to have the opportunity to connect, to contribute, and to thrive within their communities. Thank you.